So I hope that we develop a spine. I mean, I know that it was controversial when we closed the government and then reopened the government on a pinky promise. And then where did that get us?
And I
Uh,
I think you're going there because if if they adjourn and leave the United States Congress and Washington D.C. without a deal done about healthcare, who's to blame, Ryan?
I I mostly engage Democrats. I'm going to blame this. I'm going to have this conversation in my own family. That strategy fundamental, and this is where again, it's not about critique for the sake of it, but that strategy doesn't make any sense. So we had the longest shutdown in government history that we made about one single issue. We reopened government again, basically on like a pinky promise. Like we just said we'll get to this.
Right.
Didn't. And now that is actually that's impactful to folks in my family. I have real people in my life that are staring at double and triple payments, size of payments that they cannot afford. And the best that we have to say for it is we tried really. This is a performance based business, and like Democrats need to embrace it that way. Folks are looking for us to actually win these fights, not look good losing. And claiming some moral victory when folks' premiums are about to quadruple in some cases is not acceptable. And it is okay for us to say that, just like that. It is not acceptable. So, look, I this is going to be controversial, but if you're not able to deliver in the way that I'm describing, just like any job, right? I've people have got mad at me this before, but I've long maintained that being a VC, being a venture capitalist, is one of the few jobs in the world where you're wrong more times than you're right, and you get to keep your job. You underwrite to be wrong 90+% of the time. The next job next to VCs is being a politician, where you're allowed to keep your job for forever, in some cases, and not deliver against the things that folks are asking. Now, the last thing I'll say here is that I encourage anyone that is watching this conversation that we have to begin to reverse the order of operations. So part of what I just said is wrong in a sense that the way that I view politics is less of a I elect you and you go
Mhm.
and do whatever you want to do. I look at politics like, no, I'm going to elect you with a very specific agenda. And if you can't deliver against that agenda, just like your favorite head coach of your favorite team, after so many losing seasons, something here has to change. I need a new offensive coordinator. Defense. We've got to reshuffle this deck. We're in that season right now inside of the party. You either win and deliver, and we need to hold that line, or unfortunately, a new season is starting, and the hope should be that your team is going to go deliver a championship. Like I'm pretty openly a Falcons fan, so I take my torture.
Me too. I'm with that with
I
you,
take
brother.
my torture every
Every
year.
week, every
Yeah,
week, every
every
year.
week, every year. But somehow, some way, I will walk into next season with the belief that we have a shot this season. You should feel that same way about your favorite politician. That even if the last season wasn't great, this next season has an opportunity to be. And when you get to a place where it's just so many losing seasons after, something has got to shake. And look, I'm not calling for anybody's job, but I am calling for a different way of us viewing how we can participate in this thing.
So, Ryan, if anybody looks at your social media, particularly Instagram, you've been engaging in a lot of controversial but needed conversations. The one that really stuck out to me, and there's a couple, is you made a comment. You said that 96% of Black owned businesses don't actually employ anyone.
Yeah. Sole proprietorships.
Okay, let's go a little deeper in that.
I mean, the challenge that we have right now is not a conversation that's about starting a business. It's about scaling it. And look, when we started TGS 10 years ago, that was the thing that everyone wanted to discuss. Start a business, start a business. The ABCs of entrepreneurship. How do we get more people into the game? Look, and I'm not mad at that discussion. I'm glad that we had it in many ways. But this season has to be focused on how do we get those businesses to higher heights? How do we get them to a place where they are able to employ other people? The analogy that I've used before that I think is helpful for people to think about, right? When if you're a black student in America about to graduate from high school, you have options, right? You can go to an HBCU or you can go to a PWI. There's a world of opportunity available. But that same kid, when they graduate 4 years later, those options don't exist, right? Because they basically only have the opportunity to work at a PWI. I guess you can make the argument go work within the context of government. I think that we also need to have a network of HBCUs, of black owned businesses that are at scale to be able to employ folks within the community. Every piece of research that I've ever seen suggests that if we were able to do that to even a couple of percentage points, that we would immediately notice the impact inside of our communities. More good quality jobs, it impacts schooling, it impacts housing, it impacts any of the things that we look at as what makes a community a good community. When there are good businesses that are able to employ great people, those are the things that we want. So we've got to stay laser focused on the fact that too many of the companies that exist in our community are unable to employ anybody right now. And then again, in that absence, there's some other really terrible stats that exist. So on an individual level, the number of people that have access to a couple $100, right, in case of an emergency, the number's really, really low. Saw a stat sometime last year, 45% of black folks in Atlanta have delinquent debt. And again, that's not debt that's owed to someone. Let me be clear. It's not just debt. Debt that is past due, right? Delinquent debt. 45%, almost half, right? So we're in a really, really terrible position. I don't believe that you get to a better place by ignoring the realities of where we are right now. So I talk all the time about those realities
Mhm.
and hope that people will say, look, I should really this year be focused on how I can scale my business and how can I get to a place where I'm able to hire one person. And then once you do that, how can you get to the next two and five and 10 and 50 and 100, right? Because the impact that I'll be able to make
Mhm.
will be significant. But it's hard to become something that you haven't seen before, and it's hard to combat a problem that you haven't identified. So our task every single day is to expose people to what's happening and then do everything that we can to try to close the gap in making sure that they have the confidence to go and pursue whatever it is that they want to go do.
The delinquent debt one stuck with me.
Yeah,
Actually, I
it's
think
rough.
I text you because we see a lot of folks because you travel all around the world, but you go to different cities. You know, you're on panels. You have the Gathering Spot in Washington D.C. You have it in
LA.
L.A. as
Yeah.
well, and so you're West Coast, Northeast, and then in the South. But what was the reaction that you got from folks? Because you've made a few. I mean, there's been a couple times where I've seen you go to bat for Fawn Weaver. You had her here at the retreat just literally less than a month ago,
Yeah.
having a conversation about her problems. You had a conversation about people wanting to go on the internet, and I think you kind of, how did you frame it? You said, folks want to go out and criticize people, but have never done it themselves, and you were really, it was a calling, like,
Yeah.
hey, let's stop going at everybody on social media.
Yeah.
So talk about those two instances. What have you heard back when you defend black business owners, and then you also tell the truth about business and entrepreneurship?
I mean, the mob is not that big, right? And that's the fallacy of how it feels online, right? People feel like everybody feels one way. The reaction that I mostly get are people just saying, "Oh, I feel that way too. I'm just happy someone said it." Right? I mean, because it's frustrating to me that people are so used to people being so critical of other folks that we sit back and are like, "Look, I'm sad that's happening to them, but at least they ain't coming in my direction."
Right.
I totally understand, in many ways can relate to that feeling. But I simply think that, again, we're in a critical moment. This is back even to why the conversation we're having about politics matters. We're not in a season where, especially with our own community, we can afford to just sit back and say, well, I hope it works out for them.
Right.
Right? If the thing that I can contribute is just to say, "Hey, everybody, there's probably some more context needed," or business is tough, and if you study your favorite business, there's going to be a chapter, if they're being honest with you, where it was rough,
Hmm.
where they didn't know how they were going to make ends meet. Right? There are very few businesses that for 100 years straight just saw up and to the right and never had a moment where there was a valley. It just doesn't happen that way. So I'm not speaking to something that I think is new. My goal is just to try to say, hey, let's take a step back for a second
Hmm.
and give folks the space and the grace and the respect to know that one, we want to see them be successful because from a distance sometimes it's hard to tell. But two, we're not here to write I'm not my job is to not write an MBA case study about your business. I don't know what's going on with half the companies that I'm talking about, but I do know I want them to work out. I do know that I want them to continue to employ the people that they employ and sell the service that they have, and that's enough, right? But we're this is gonna feel like we're on the playground in many ways, but like we're mean to each other in ways that are just it's just not acceptable, right? And I resist that. I don't want to normalize that. It's not normal to be cruel to one another in ways that don't make sense, and that's not accountability. Now, being holding someone accountable to their behavior is not the same thing as saying everyone we can both talk about where you made a mistake, but do it in a way where you understand that fundamentally we still care about you and we're having this conversation because we do care. It goes back to what you were saying about feedback. I can receive feedback because I trust the people that are giving it to me.
Hmm.
Now, if you go on the internet saying random things to me, I'll be honest with you. That really is not I don't who are you and why are you saying this is my first question. And once I can get to an understanding of where it's coming from, then I'm better in a position to understand what it is that you're actually saying.
I mean,
But
what compelled you when you got back from Essence? And I want just a few minutes on
yeah,
this. I mean, I remember you coming back from the Essence Festival,
yes.
and we saw, all this. A Toro who I talked to a lot about different cultural issues, and I know he was there. But you came back from the Essence Festival, and there was all these headlines about how the attendance was down, the dollars were not there, the corporate sponsorship had basically become almost insolvent, and that big corporations weren't supporting this huge gathering of of black people. I mean, what was the sort of encouragement to do that? But then what was also the response from that too?
I think part of what you just said though was where I was a little bit frustrated. To me, if there's any place to be frustrated, it's with the companies that a couple years ago were falling over themselves to try to say that they loved black folks that all of a sudden lost that point of view or it felt like overnight. Where I have a concern is there, right, with those group of organizations, not with Essence. And sure, look, could Essence be better, whatever that means? Sure, I think anything could be better, right? But fundamentally, when there is something in our community that we love and appreciate and need in many ways, we have a responsibility to protect it. And part of protecting it is not having a conversation in mixed company that is so critical that actually was giving some of the organizations further license to remove their participation from Essence because it felt like the community was not as interested in the product anymore. So like eh, growing up, and a lot of our parents and grandparents, would say to us, "Look, sometimes you gonna get what you wish for." And I think we have to remind each other from time to time that we will get what we will talk some of these things not into existence.
Mhm.
And then be back on the internet being like, "Wow, loved Essence, used to go every single year." I refuse to be that person,
Yeah.
right? And this is with cultural events, but you mentioned the Atlanta Business League. The Atlanta Business League is 91 years old. Why did I chair that organization? Is because I was not going to be a part of a new generation of entrepreneurs that knew the history of an organization that made it possible for me to be in business in Atlanta, and then say, "Well, I hope they figure it out. I hope it goes well."
Yeah. Whoop de doo.
It is my no, it is my responsibility
Yeah.
to pick up the baton, to go down to New Orleans, to be a part of the Atlanta Business League, to participate if I don't do that, then I lose all right to at that point to be able to then go and have some sort of commentary about where it is, right? And so all of this to me is all the same. I feel that same way about politics, right? If I don't participate in the process, I can't then turn around and be like, well, why do they do that? Right?
Mhm.
I'm in the arena in all of these things, and I'm trying to encourage as many people as possible to join me there because this stuff will go away. It does not have to exist. There are a lot of hardworking people that work to make all of this possible. This conversation possible. This hard work to make this happen.
It
So,
is.
okay, if we want this podcast to exist, then thank you so much for watching. And please like and subscribe. Actually, like we're in a moment right now where it's like, share, and subscribe right now. Right? Like I need you to actually do that. And not in your head and not with well wishes or just a like. Like I need you to like put some energy behind this stuff because when it's not there, folks are gonna be like, man, I loved what Darren was doing. I love that he was spending and you would be like in this alternative universe, well, did you tell anybody else about that? Did you watch the like this stuff is math at a certain point and we have the capability of controlling the math. So we should.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
the city I love and live in. You grew up here.
Yeah.
Born here.
I was born in LA. People don't know that.
Okay, there we go. So we'll get some.
Yeah,
So
people
born in L.A., went to Atlanta, Georgetown,
Yeah.
then Georgetown again, law
Yep.
school.
Yep.
Why Atlanta? What about Atlanta has shaped you, the man, the business owner, the influencer, the guy who want to see everybody succeed? Let's talk about this city and how much it's given to you and how are you giving back to it.
I'm deeply grateful for Atlanta. Um this to me is the most important city in the country, maybe in the world. We aren't defined by anything. And that normally again is talked about as a negative thing. I actually think it's what's positive that you can have a massive business community, some of the biggest businesses in the world with massive presence here. But you can be a legit city at the same time for small businesses and for startups and for fintech and entrepreneurship broadly. You can also at the same time understand that Atlanta is a network of colleges and universities that fuel all of that. And then the thing that I think is what's really important about the city, the thing that we export more than anything else is our culture, right? So when you add all of that up together, if New York is finance and DC is government politics and LA is Hollywood, all of these other cities are a thing. Atlanta's all of those things at the same time. And it puts us at a strategic advantage in ways that I'll never leave Atlanta if those fundamentals exist. Now, with with anything, there's opportunities to improve the city. I mean, the math here needs to work more for more people, right? The income inequality that exists here is something that we have to continue to really focus on. But our ability to know each other across traditional lines of difference is what's ridiculous about this city. Where if you look at your work, right, in another market, your work would normally only have you in contact with folks in the business and political space, right? In a very kind of neat, but you're friends with small business owners and know them well. You have relationships with artists and entertainers, some of the biggest that exists in
Yeah.
the world, right?
And I tell them I
And,
know you, and
and
that
no,
validates me.
no, but like in Atlanta,
Yeah.
right, you have the ability to be at events
Sure.
and look at the table to your left or your right, and it's like, wait, this isn't just a business event. It's not just the corporate community that's here. My favorite politician is over at table 12. My favorite artist is sitting there at table 32. And the rest of everybody else that makes this thing go is all sitting in the same place. There's no other place that happens other than here. I don't think there's any other place that you can show up in your mid 20s and be like, I have a business where I want to bring that all together. And the city say, okay, we'll go take that ride with you. So, no, look, a lot is said about Atlanta, but for anybody that's looking at this city, I would encourage you to consider that the fundamentals of what's here really are a rich, rich, rich environment to be able to grow personally and professionally. And for where we have shortfalls and where there are opportunities, that same environment is going to be the best place to actually address those challenges. If we can't fix some of the math here, I don't think the math gets fixed anywhere.
Well said. Well said. As we close, when you're not working, not running a business, not being a father, I know that's a full
Yeah,
time
I'm about to
job,
say
husband, full
that's
time
the
job.
last stop for me.
Yeah. What do you do for fun? Like how do you unwind? How do you re up? How do you?
I'm in a really I guess some folks would say boring stage of my life where I mean it really are the things that you mentioned. I'm at work. I'm with my family. Specifically, I'm with my kids. Um, I'm at the gym too. That is an outlet for me. But I try to keep it pretty simple. Like I don't have, I meet other folks and they're like, I downhill ski and have an instrument and something. But I don't do any of that. Like relaxing for me is really just being able to hang out with my friends and family, and frankly, even have this is like having conversations about things that matter. I think ultimately that's what folks are gonna remember, right? The 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 business success and the any of that other stuff. Ultimately, I think what gives color to our lives are the relationships that exist on a daily basis. And so my goal, if I'm not working, is to try to continue to cultivate those because I think that's ultimately what I'm going to remember and what people are going to too.
Well, it's the humanization portion of this lifestyle we live, man. So listen, brother, I want to sincerely thank
I
you
appreciate you. No,
for
thank
coming
you.
on.
This platform is these are important discussions with
Yeah,
important people. And you've
thank you.
talked a lot about me, but genuinely, you as an example in this city of a person that isn't defined by any of this stuff either, right? That exists in a bunch of different universes and participates in small businesses and big business, like isn't defined in these ways that again, I don't know who's writing these rules, but like you're a person that can wear a really cool jacket and hoodie and then like Clark Kent turn around and have the flyest suit on. Like it's beyond the optics of that. It's actually living through like what that represents to me is always been an example for me personally. But I think through this platform, more people are going to see that like it's not weird to talk about politics, arts, and culture,
Mhm.
and it's not weird to talk about all of them at the same time, right? And I appreciate you doing this because I think it'll give more people the courage to know that they should be doing the same thing too.
Well, thank you, man. That means so much coming from you, and I just appreciate you saying yes to this. Again, we were very intentional with this podcast at Theron's Take to support you here at Retreat.
I appreciate you.
Beyond this amazing entertainment opportunity we have above us at this facility, what you've built here. I mean, you literally could come down, go in that door over there, and bust a left, and I won't put nobody on the
Yeah,
spot, right?
yeah.
But we got some hitters in here.
Oh
Like
no, no,
we
no.
got some
Yeah,
guys in this on this floor,
yeah.
in the floor below us
Mm-hmm.
that are people who put points on the board. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you opening up this, man, and continuing your vision. But appreciate all your support, man. And then hey, I believe in you. We're gonna we just
Thank you.
we
I
just getting
appreciate it.
started.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of
We
work
got a
to
lot
do.
of work to do.
All
Thank you
right,
for having me,
thank
though.
you all.
Seriously.
Thank you for watching and listening to Theron's Take. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And wherever you get your podcasts, please download Theron's Take. Share with a friend and drop a rating.